My name is Jason, and this is Just Watches. Well, we end the year with a watch that I have wanted for a very long time. This is the Seiko Sarx029, which features a handmade urushi lacquer dial. I first found out about this watch shortly after getting into watches about 4 years ago, and decided now was the time to finally buy one. Now, before we get into the review, if you're enjoying the content of this channel, I invite you to subscribe, and if you like the contents of this individual video, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you so much. So, price and availability. Well, at the time of this recording, this particular model is getting slightly harder to find, which is part of the reason I decided to get it. Say Japan has them listed as temporarily out of stock, so I think there are more on the way. The price fluctuates around $800. So starting with the case, it's 40.5 millimeters in diameter, it's 47.5 millimeters lug to lug, it's 12 millimeters thick, and then it has a 20 millimeter lug width opening. Now this watch weighs in at a comfortable 84 grams. The case on this watch is gorgeous. The lugs curve down gently and are brushed on the top, but have a high polished chamfered edge on the interior of the lugs that gives them extra dimensionality and makes them almost seem to twist. The high polished sides belly slightly outwards, but then angle down and inwards towards the case back. This case design is cohesive and interesting and serves as a good backdrop to the dial. The stock strap starts at 20 millimeters before tapering down to 17 millimeters. The strap is supposedly crocodile and is extremely nice. It is way nicer than any Seiko strap I've experienced before. It was both immediately comfortable and has broken in nicely. There is a splash of gold stitching, which matches the other gold elements of the watch. It also came on the Seiko signed deployant clasp. Now, I love deployants like these, especially on a watch with a nice strap. It makes putting the watch on and off way easier and will also make the strap last longer since you're doing much less tugging, pulling, and stretching of the strap each time you take the watch on and off. It operates with a satisfying double deployant action, which doubles in function if you want to adjust the length of the strap by moving the deployant to a different hole. I think the strap complements this watch perfectly. The screw-in caseback helps with 100 meters of water resistance. The caseback is very similar to what you'll find on many other Seiko watches and does feature an exhibition window. Now, there are two other variants of this watch, the SARW013 and the SARD011. Now, both of these watches use very uncommon 28,800 vibration per hour Seiko movements, which you do not often see. This watch, however, uses the 6R15, which is similar to the 4R35, but with a slightly longer power reserve, a tighter stated accuracy, and some magnetic resistance. It is in fact a hacking, hand-winding, 21,600 vibration per hour movement with the 50-hour power reserve and a stated accuracy of -15 to +25 seconds per day. It also has 60 Gauss of magnetic resistance and a quick set date. The 6.5mm push-pull crown is nicely finished with a deeply etched S signing it. I'm a sucker for signed crowns, something that seems to be lacking on some of Seiko's newer releases. It is very easy to wind and operate this watch via the crown. The crystal is an ever so slightly domed sapphire with anti-reflective coating. I'm actually not sure why they went with a domed crystal here. It almost makes the watch harder to read. I also have the Seiko Sarx055, which has a flat sapphire crystal, and that in combination with Seiko's extremely good anti-reflective coating basically makes the crystal disappear. This domed crystal, however, catches way more light despite its anti-reflective coating. I wish they had just used a flat crystal here for that reason, but the dome does add some character as well as some fun visual distortions when viewing the watch from an angle. Alright, we finally gotten to it. Let's talk about this dial. Now, the dial is absolutely the main draw of the watch. In person, it appears impossibly black, but it also looks wet, like a pool of spilled ink that has not yet dried. I've had this watch for almost 2 months, and I'm still not used to just how cool the dial is. This dial is handmade by an artisan at Seiko, and it really needs to be seen in person to be fully appreciated. Starting at the edge of the dial, there is a half railroad for the minutes that are further divided by very small dashes. At each of the increments of 5, Arabic numerals are subtly tucked above the Roman numerals, which mark the minutes. When I purchased this watch, I thought the Roman numerals were white, but upon inspection they are actually silver. The printing is incredibly crisp, and the black, gold, and silver all complement each other nicely. There is minimal text, just Seiko at 12 and automatic and 23 jewels at 6. I was surprised there is no Presage branding, but I prefer less text overall. The date resides at 3 and is nicely framed in gold. They also didn't clip the Roman 3, but made it shorter, and I think they definitely got away with it. A no-date dial was probably a more artistic choice, but I love having the date on my watch. Thankfully, a black date wheel was used, but it almost appears gray sometimes against this deep black of the dial. Overall, I think the dial on this watch is perfectly executed. The leaf style hour and minute hands have a powdered gold finish. The minute hand is very long, terminating all the way at the railroad track at the edge of the dial. The second hand is also extremely long and elegant, with a very similar gold finish, albeit slightly smoother overall. I love the crescent they used as the counterbalance on the second hand as well. The only thing I dislike about the handset is at the hand stack end. The finish there is still gold, but it's very high polish rather than that powdered finish on the rest of the hands, and I find it slightly distracting and just seems like a strange choice. That said, it's not something you'll notice unless you're looking for it. And getting it on the Timegrapher, you will see one of the major critiques of this watch is a fair one. While technically in specification, this watch is running quite fast, gaining 19 seconds a day in the dial up position. And with the crown up, we're still seeing plus 20 seconds per day. The problem with Seiko movements is that while some of them are very accurate, you are basically getting the luck of the draw. I find it a bit surprising that even if they didn't use a better movement in a watch like this, that they didn't take the time to at least adjust it. And here is the watch on my 6 3/4 inch wrist. You can see it wears quite well, helped in part by the gentle curve of the case and the shorter lug-to-lug distance. It's also quite slim at only 12 millimeters. So pros and cons, starting with the pros. Well, this watch represents something that I think is more common to the Grand Seiko level than the Seiko level, and that is that the dial is handcrafted. The urushi is gorgeous, and I catch myself staring at this dial often. The case is elegant and complements the dial. The strap is extremely nice, and paired with the deployant clasp should last a long time. While the watch is dressy overall, I find it goes just as well with jeans and a shirt. As for cons, well, I really wish this watch was 39 millimeters. That size, I think it would be close to perfect. That being said, the lug-to-lug length of 47.5 millimeters and the gentle curve of the case makes it extremely comfortable on my 6 3/4 inch wrist. I just can't help but feel it's slightly oversized. Finally, a flat sapphire crystal I think would have been a better choice to let the dial show even more. So is this watch worth the money? Well, that's a tricky one. On the one hand, it is an expensive watch considering it only uses the 6R15. On the other hand, you have an artisan crafted dial. I have wanted this watch for a long time, and I noticed something on the Seiko Luxe website that encouraged me to finally purchase this watch. It's no secret that Seiko is slowly moving up market, and I stumbled upon a newer watch, the SJE081. This is also an urushi lacquer dial in the Presage line. While it has a nicer movement, the 6L30, it also has a whopping price tag of $3,800. It made me wonder if this watch, the Sarx029, will end up being another ghost of Seiko's past, and they won't ever offer an urushi dial watch at this price point again. Not wanting to miss out on a watch I have wanted for so long, I decided to go for it. With all that being said, I do actually think that this one is worth the money. So there you have it, the Seiko Sarx029. What do you guys think about this watch? Leave me a comment in the comment section below. As always, if you're enjoying the content of this channel, I invite you to subscribe, and if you like the contents of this individual video, please give it a thumbs up. That wraps it for Just Watches in 2021. I look forward to bringing you a lot more videos in 2022, and I hope you had a great New Year's.